it took me a long time. It took me a long time to learn how to organize my nervous system. And it took me a long time to be able to experience emotion and sensation physically within my body and hold space for that. And when you come forward into life with a nervous system that has known incredible stress or trauma, there are triggers and landmines potentially all over the place. And learning to identify those spaces and learning how to use present moment awareness, how to use taking a longer breath, how to use these spaces, not just because these are trendy and trending ideas, but for emerging out of survival spaces into spaces that actually touch a more full capacity to live and to live with intention and to empower a nervous system to reorganize and to recognize fight, flight, freeze, faint, fawn, and to be able to have enough space for choice to be able to not drop into one of those systems of your nervous system and to be able to stay present to yourself, not states of your nervous system, and to be able to stay present and conscious and forward. And it took me a long time. I remember when I first started hearing language like this and the skills around these concepts, it truly felt like two things. It felt like I was a sieve, and what I was learning sounded so phenomenal to me, and yet it was like just passing through me because the internal construction did not exist to be able to hold the language or the hope of it. And then it took me time. It took time to learn how to take these practices and what my nervous system needed around these practices. And so even when I talk about spiritual formation or spiritual growth or spiritual care provision, there are practices, right, that a lot of contemplatives will lean into, and such as silence or even meditative spaces. And what I learned both personally and in my practices, that silence or quiet or meditative spaces in and of themselves can be triggers. And so how, amidst a system that's known trauma and known lots of triggers, how can a person start touching these very beneficial practices and grow and heal a nervous system and be able to then cultivate choices and within states of that nervous system, right? Like I said earlier, to instead of going into fight, flight, freeze, faint, fawn, to be able to notice your body in space, to be able to recognize that you're even being triggered, and to be able to hold all of those spaces in real time, take a longer breath, and be more okay than you would have been given any set of circumstances or stimuli that's happening in the moment. And I don't know if I said that clearly, but my heart intention is to hold space for people to grow in awareness, to grow in capacity to inhabit your physical body, your mental body, emotions, to be able to feel the soles of your feet underneath you and the ground underneath the soles of your feet, and amidst whatever set of circumstances or situations are pulsing forward, to be able to pause, recognize what's happening, take a longer breath, and then instead of stepping into fight, flight, freeze, faint, fawn, take a step forward consciously and intentionally into whatever that moment held for you, holds for you. The possibilities become more. The choices and capacity for choice becomes more. And instead of having a reaction, you begin to be able to cultivate the space within you towards a response. And so this is, as we step into forming 5-minute, 2-minute, 10-minute, hour, half-hour practices in the days and coming weeks, this is really my heart, is to share from my journey and to hold out spaces of hope and to say that nervous systems can be reconstructed, that a peace and a calm can be, I don't want to use the word achieved, but can be fostered, right? I like that word, fostered, into the state of being. And so instead of your state of being frozen, and instead of your state of being in fight or flight, freeze or fawn, or faint, you can have space to have a different state of being through breath, through awareness, through movement, through touching these different practices, but in a way that is tangible and accessible to whichever space in your nervous system you currently are inhabiting. And so let's do this together, and let's walk together and take breaths together. Let's move our bodies together. Let's acknowledge the obstacles that stand in the path honestly together. And through these spaces, continue the journey of health and healing and hope.